Appendix S, Edinburgh Postnatal Depression Scale. The Edinburgh Postnatal Depression Scale, EPDS, was developed for screening postpartum women in outpatient home visiting settings or at the 6 to 8 week postpartum examination. It has been used among numerous populations, including U.S. women and Spanish speaking women in other countries. The EPDS consists of 10 questions. The test can usually be completed in less than 5 minutes. Women should be asked to rate their responses according to how they have felt in the past week. Responses are scored 0, 1, 2, or 3 according to increased severity of the symptom. Items marked with an asterisk are reverse scored 3, 2, 1, and 0. The total score is determined by adding together the scores for each of the 10 items. Validation studies have used various threshold scores in which women were positive and in need of referral. Cutoff scores range from 10 to 13 points. Therefore, to err on safety's side, a woman scoring 10 or more points or indicating any suicidal ideation, that is, she scores 1 or higher on question number 10, should be referred immediately for follow-up. Even if a woman scores 9 or lower, if the care provider feels she is suffering from depression, an appropriate referral should be made. The EPDS is only a screening tool. It does not diagnose depression. High scores indicate that the mother should be referred to an appropriately licensed healthcare personnel, although the tool may be administered by any caregiver. Users may reproduce the scale without permission, provided that the copyright is respected, by quoting the names of the authors, title, and the source of the paper in all reproduced copies. So I actually use the Edinburgh scale at all of my postpartum visits, and I ask my families if they had received the scale, some during their hospital stay, or from their midwife or what have you. Many have not. Ironically, they have not, but they've been given some form of a scale or a survey. But a lot of my families have reported that they haven't received anything. So, instructions for users. 1. The mother is asked to underline one of 4 possible responses that comes the closest to how she has been feeling the previous 7 days. 2. All 10 items must be completed. 3. Care should be taken to avoid the possibility of the mother discussing her answers with others. 4. The mother should complete the scale herself unless she has limited English or has difficulty with reading. And so this kind of listed out, like, I wouldn't, you can find copies of this online where, like, it's like an 8.5 by 11 sheet piece of paper, and it's 1 to 2 pages, maybe it's double-sided, and that way you can leave it with the family so that they can do it on their own, and they can do it every week or every couple of weeks. This is kind of small, like I wouldn't photocopy this necessarily, but just going through it. It's the name, date, address, baby's age. As you have recently had a baby, we would like to know how you are feeling. Please underline the answer that comes closest to how you have felt in the past 7 days, not just how you feel today. Here is an example, already completed. I have felt happy, yes, all the time. Yes, most of the time. That's underlined. Yes, most of the time. No, not very often. No, not at all. This would mean I have felt happy most of the time during the past week. Please complete the other questions in the same way. So now these are all the questions. And there should be, I think there's 10 questions. Yeah, there's 10. I've been doing it for so many years. In the past 7 days, number one, I have been able to laugh and see the funny side of things. As much as I always could, not quite so much now, definitely not so much now, not at all. Number 2, I have looked forward with enjoyment to things. As much as I ever did, rather less than I used to, definitely less than I used to, hardly at all. Number 3, I have blamed myself unnecessarily when things went wrong. Yes, most of the time. Yes, some of the time. Not very often. No, never. 4, I have been anxious or worried for no good reason. No, not at all. Hardly ever. Yes, sometimes. Yes, very often. 5, I have felt scared or panicky for no very good reason. Yes, quite a lot. Yes, sometimes. No, not much. No, not at all. 6, there have been Things have been getting on top of me. Yes. Most of the time, I haven't been able to cope at all. Yes. Sometimes I haven't been coping as well as usual. No. Most of the time, I have coped well. No. I have been coping as well as ever. 7. I have been so unhappy that I have difficulty sleeping. Yes, most of the time. Yes, sometimes. Not very often. No, not at all. 8. I have felt sad or miserable. Yes, most of the time. Yes, quite often. Not very often. No, not at all. 9. I have been so unhappy that I have been crying. Yes, most of the time. Yes, quite often. Only occasionally. No, never. And 10. The thought of harming myself has occurred to me. Yes, quite often. Sometimes, hardly ever, never. Now, there are some asterisks on some of these questions. I would just say that when you're asking them, just like it says in the book, that you are conscious about the context. So, in my case, I'm dealing with a lot of Black and brown moms that may be on Medicaid, that are being extra surveilled, and so anything that they answer may have implications on their ability to keep their babies. And so you want to think about that when you're asking these questions, and also think about like how it's being shared. All right, that's the end of Appendix S.